Welcome back, guys. Today we have Zach on the podcast, and let's get into it. So, Zach, where are you calling from?
Well, I'm out of White Bluff, Tennessee, about 35, 40 miles west of Nashville up here.
Oh, okay. How's the weather right now up there?
Oh, it's gorgeous, man.
That is
Absolutely
really nice.
gorgeous. Just nice, crisp, cool, clean morning, like
Yeah, that's
perfect kind of weather.
yep. Yeah, I'm waiting for that down here in Florida. We'll get a couple weeks of it, maybe, and then it's all gone. That cold weather is so good, though. It's nice. It's a good break.
uh, yeah, I'm telling you, I I prefer not to be cold. I like that chill to it, but warming up about mid 70s during the day, man, it's just perfect. Just do whatever you want
Yeah,
to.
yeah, I agree. All right. So, are you married?
Oh yeah. Got a beautiful wife, Melinda. Got um, four youngins, three boys, one girl, and then I guess the two dogs. Essentially, they're just as bad as kids. But yeah, I've got uh, a, a pretty good sized family.
Yeah, three boys. You got your hands full on that one.
Oh well, I'll be honest with you. The boys ain't been too bad. Of course, I started early. I got to jump on it in the Marine Corps, so they're 23, 22. Youngest is he's going to be 20 in December, and my daughter just turned 16. So I've the daughter's been the interesting one. I'll put it to you that way. I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah, I got one daughter and one son. My son's 6, my daughter's 14, and yeah, it's getting interesting.
Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Yeah. I know she got her license a couple weeks ago, and it's just been nonstop. I'm like, oh man.
Oh
Uh,
boy.
yeah. The boys, you just worry about them, and the girls, you worry about everybody around you,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yes. So, all right. So tell me, what do you do for work?
So currently, I work for the state of Tennessee. I I was a journeyman lineman, substation guy at a local municipal up here for 17 years, and um, got into the safety aspect of it after my little accident incident thing, and I've been doing safety now for going on 3 years. So been been in the business for about 20 years now.
All right. Um. So, why did you want to get into the trades?
Oh
Why
well,
did you
I'll be
choose
honest.
into the trades?
Completely pure dumb luck is what it was, man. Um, I got out of the Marine Corps, and I wanted to do what my dad did in the Marine Corps, right? Like he was an EOD guy in the Army. Of course, me being hard headed, I wanted to be a Marine, right? So did that, signed up, took tests, all that kind of jazz, and wanted to do EOD. Of course, recruiters being recruiters, they promised me even better than EOD, which is a nuclear, biological, chemical defense specialist. And yeah, and nobody liked us. I'll be honest with you. We ran the chambers and all the mop gear and gas mask and all that. Nobody liked it. So um, when I got out, I honestly had no idea what I was going to do, man. Like I went to sheriff's department, THP, like because every Marine's a rifleman, so we can shoot, and I was like, well, I could do that. Got lucky. They hired three fellas at the electric department in about 6 months, and then didn't hire anybody for another 6 years. So I just got lucky. I walked in there the first day, and what do we do exactly? Because I'd never really thought about where the electricity for my lights and plug come from. And I was like, sure, we climb poles. Yeah, I can do that. We do this. Yeah, I can do that. That's no big deal. So I just got real fortunate on that because I didn't have enough forethought to look past my enlistment and see what I had to do.
Jeez. So you said your dad he was in the military too.
Yep.
Well, what did he also do when he got out of the military?
He was with his bomb disposal stuff that he did. He got in with a couple different companies, and essentially he went out and disposed of anything bad that they had. Like I remember us having old VCR tapes of him being like full bomb gear, going into factories and warehouses and stuff, and taking out containers of stuff, and then going out into a field and detonating it and all kinds of jazz. So it was like a environmental cleanup kind of stuff, because he would also go on train derailments and all that stuff. So he did that. I bet he did that for 15, 20 years after he got out of the military.
That's awesome. That's like wicked cool.
Well, we did have some awful interesting 4th of Julys and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So.
Like, yeah, in school, what does your dad do? My dad gets bombs and blows them up.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
That's why I'd wanted to do it, and that recruiter got me, man.
Yeah.
Of course he told me, policy wise, I guess that they said you need to be like an E4 and be in 2 years, because they didn't want to teach somebody all the bomb stuff and then realize they're not all there. And so they'd rather make sure you're legit before they
Yeah.
start teaching you that kind of jazz. But yeah, he had a really interesting job, and I equated it to the line world, because when he got caught on the job, he stayed gone for a while, occasionally 2 3 months at a time, stuff like that. So I grew up with learning how to go on your own kind of stuff, and that's what I expected anyway.
Yeah. So earlier you did say that you had your own accident. I know the viewers, they know that I've was electrocuted and what I've been through. So please tell us about your experience and what happened with you on the job.
All right, yeah, I've been following you a while. To be honest with you, I stumbled upon your TikTok stuff and all that. I'd say a good couple of years ago, and I'm wanting to say
That's probably when
my
I first
wife
started. Yeah.
is either talk to you or talk to your wife, something like that. I don't remember, but um, I was a lineman. Our system is 7,200 phase to ground, 12,470 phase to phase. So I was a lineman. I was actually a sub tech guy at the time. I took over the sub department, and to scrunch it down somewhat, I was getting an old substation set up for a classroom kind of environment, and went in there, took the high voltage compartment off a 15 kV breaker, and was showing some guys some stuff. And I had cut this stuff loose back in 2016. No big deal. I knew it was de-energized, nothing on the primary side, nothing like that. So I went in there expecting it to be exactly the same way it was in 2017. I broke the cardinal rule every lineman knows: if it ain't grounded, it ain't dead. So I ended up uh, making contact with a high side breaker, second, third degree burns, knocked me out, all that kind of stuff. I remember the guy with me, Cody. I give him props because he actually made the 911 call, all that kind of stuff, and uh, got an ambulance on the way, life flight, all that jazz. And they originally told me they was gonna cut the right arm off from the elbow down. They're gonna take all the fingers off on the left hand. And the big kicker was that day of all days, for some reason, hard hat, FR, all that kind of stuff. But I left my safety glasses on the desk in the sub house, and they told me that expect to be blind because my contacts had melted in my eyes,
Jeez.
And I'm telling you, dude, like I remember that doctor telling me, we're gonna cut your right arm off. I go, okay, all right. You know, I was good with that because in my mind, I'm 35-year-old. I've been in the business 13 years at the time. I was like, I, that's a price I got to pay, right? You know what I mean? Like in my mind, I'm alive. Check. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like anything after that, as well as I do, man.
Yep.
You know what they're gonna do is what they're gonna do. They're the professionals. You let them do their thing.
Exactly.
And I left it in her hands. And that doctor of mine, she was outstanding and saved the arm, saved the hand. Of course, it, the nonprofit thing I do, I get weird questions, and one of them was a fella called me from North Carolina and said, "I got nobody else that would probably know this answer but you." And I was like, "All right." He goes, "I've got to have another skin graft surgery, and they're wanting to know the donor spot." He said, "They asked me if it was my thigh or my butt cheek or something like that." He's like, "I don't know who else to ask that question to." And I said, "Hey, man, you come to the right guy." I was like, not everybody knows the answer to that kind of question. Of course, you as well as I do, man. It's one of the things. I'll be honest with you, it's a brotherhood on that part of it, because of course we don't ever want to see anybody go through it, but
No, no, no.
once you've gone through it, man, trust me,
Yeah.
only someone's been through it knows what it's about.
Yep.
But I got real fortunate, blessed, lucky, whatever you want to call it, that they saved the arm, skin grafts on the face, new eyelids, of course, the arm, the hand, all that. They ended up taking a finger off. Um, you know, really and honestly, the thing that hung me up was I was going to deal with the arm. I was going to deal with all the fingers on my left hand. They said they're going to cut all them off. But when they told me I was going to be blind, of course, that morning, that Friday morning, I left the house, seen all my youngins. No big deal. It's a Friday morning. And you don't really stop and think about stuff until something, engages that, right? You know what I mean? Stuff that you never thought really mattered all that much. And when they told me I was going to be blind, it was the only time I've ever felt like my life was a movie, that it took 10 seconds and stretched it out to like 10 minutes
Yep.
of slow mo. And I thought about my kids being that size forever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I expected to
Watch them
see
grow.
that. Yeah, man. I mean, as well as I do, you can see from the 6-year-old to your 14-year-old,
Yeah.
how much they've grown, right? And I mean, if you stop and think about being blind or starting that point, but end up being blind, and what you miss from there till now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It kills you.
So it was something I'd never considered, never thought about. I was thinking about my arm, a hook. I was like, I'll get a prosthetic, I'll figure it out. But the thing it really, I'll go ahead and get sappy on you real quick, but the thing that really bothered me was 26 minutes ago, right? In the ambulance with the wife, talking to me, you okay, all that good stuff. Hopped in the life flight, took off. Well, at 26 minute, dude, I was stopping and thinking, and I said, I honest to goodness do not remember what color shirt she had on that day. And it was 26 minutes ago, and I was like, dude, you don't even realize that is the last time that you'll ever lay eyes on that woman. You don't think I'd have paid a bit more attention? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
stuff you just take for granted all day, every day. That
It's 100% true. You're 100% right on that. I can agree with you on that, and I can definitely I know where you're coming from. When I was in the hospital, when I woke up, I had no clue where I was. I woke up out of a coma, and my wife ended up asking me, "Hey, do you know who I am?" I had no clue who she was. She showed me pictures of my kids. Do you know who these kids are? I have no clue who those kids are. So she just broke down and cried, and I was beyond confused on what's happening. Well, by that time, when this was all going on, I was still in the ICU, and your visiting hours, so she had to leave. So when she left, now I'm up. I'm awake. There was no sleeping, and I just kept staring at the nurses board where it says the date and what nurse you have that day, what they're in for, all that.
mm-hmm.
And I just kept looking at the date and looking at the date, looking at the date, and I was like, God, why is that date so familiar to me? And then it clicked. And then my wife walked in the next morning, and I wished her happy birthday because it was her birthday.
Seriously.
And she lost it. She, oh my God, you remember? And I was like, it was just staring at the date that, boom, it was like, hey, it's your wife's birthday.
That's
And then it
crazy.
all just came right back. Yeah, I remembered, and she was like, you remember your kids now? I was like, yeah, it's
I'm
wild.
telling you, it's which of course with you having a contact where you had to contact stuff like that, mine the flash burn was mainly on my face and stuff. So the wife was up there, the in-laws, the family, and everything like that. But of course, my daughter's in fourth grade at this time. I didn't want any of the kids to come up there and see me
Yep.
because, dude, it was rough looking. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, here I am, as a dad, like wanting to see my family. You know what I'm saying? And hey, I'm okay. I'm gonna be all right. But the other side of that coin's like the way I looked, honest to goodness, I felt like I'd going to give them nightmares. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
no,
so,
that was the same thing. So my son was only a year old, which my son has grown up now to scars are
yeah.
they're nothing anymore. He sees right past them. Anybody that has scars on their face, anything, he don't see it. And my daughter, she was 9, and I don't think my wife told our daughter for like the first, I would say, probably first week. Didn't tell her what exactly happened to me, and then I didn't see my kids for like 2-3 weeks because she didn't want them to see how I looked because all this right here, is just, your skin is just falling off,
Oh, yeah.
and I was so upset because I wanted to see my kids, but then she was like, "You don't want them to see you like this," and I was like, "I haven't even seen what I looked like," and she finally showed me like a mirror, and I was like, "Oh yeah, no, keep them out there. That's rough. That's rough."
I'm telling you, man, that was the thing about it. Like, you're right, because you don't even consider, like, every day you get up, you do your thing, right? Your bathroom, you're in the mirror, you see yourself, brush teeth, whatever. But hospital like that, dude, unless somebody specifically says, hey, this is what you look like,
Yeah,
you don't even know, All I know is I had this junk all over my face, and then I would go into the hydro room, and they'd scrub and clean. I'd come back, and it would be sore and bloody and everything, and it was like uh, I don't know. I say pantyhose kind of stuff, but they just like put it over my head, cut out for my eyes and nose and mouth. Right, I just look like some sort of a robber slash mummy kind of thing. And you know, I never even thought about it what I looked like, and it was one of those things that everybody you could just tell when people walked in the room and people saw you, and you go, "Oh God," I got friends, coworkers, been in the business for a long time, have seen stuff.
yeah.
But when they walk in and see you, you're like, if he's reacting like that, it's bad, man. It's bad. Like it's one of those things that you don't ever consider. Just your looks, your identity, who you are, is something that you know. You're lucky. I'm lucky in the sense of my kids, your kids. If they're not exposed to this kind of stuff, they might, do what kids do. They see somebody like that walking down the road and they might point it out, say something
Yep.
inappropriate, and it's not necessarily inappropriate. They're just kids
The
and they're
kids,
truthful.
the
Yeah.
curious.
But, growing up around us, like you said, it's no big deal. We poke fun at all kinds of, they poke fun
Ex-
at me all the time about
Yep.
stuff. It's just what we do.
So since this has happened to me, the hospital that I went to is down in Miami, and amazing hospital. And every year for Christmas, they collect toys, and then we go down there. We collect toys too. Go down there and we hand them out to the kids who have been burned, who've been hurt, and then it's also for their siblings. So they do this big Christmas party. And there was 2 boys last year. We went at. I mean, their whole face was just scars, burns. And my son, all he wants to do was play with the balloons with them. One of the boys, he had his hand amputated right here. My kid doesn't care. He don't see scars anymore. He sees another kid to play with. And to watch that was just like so humbling because that's what you want. You want your kids to be able to not see any race, not see scars, not see any disabilities, see a person. So
That's it.
yeah, and it was amazing to watch. And now, I go to like his field trips and stuff, which is happening to me is like, you say, stuff like this. Oh, it's a blessing in disguise. when I was working, I didn't get any time to see any of my kids' stuff at school, none of that stuff. Now I'm able to, but when I walk into his classroom, all those kids are like, "Where's
Oh
your
yeah.
ear?" Right off
Oh
the
yeah.
bat, "Where's your ear?"
Yeah. Can
Like,
you
"Oh,
hear me
that's
over there?
fine."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'll joke with them, I'm like, "Well, can I have yours?" "Well, no." Like, "Why not?" But then my son, he'll tell them, "My dad's ear was burned off because that's why we don't touch electricity and we don't touch fire." But I love talking to the kids because they're hilarious. There's no filters and they're so curious, they'll ask you anything.
Oh yeah, you know good and well
You're
that
like,
what
"What?"
they're thinking and what they're asking are people, adults wanting to know and wanting to ask the same question,
Yeah,
but they got the public thought process of it, and just that opinion and be like, oh, I can't ask that. That's inappropriate. Kids are awesome like it. And since I got into safety, I do a lot of teaching, and like I was at Columbia State Community College up here in Columbia, Tennessee, doing the pre-apprentice school up there, and I love the teaching part of it, especially the younger ones, because they're curious about it. They're curious enough to want to come in this business and they want to learn about stuff. And so I love sharing this kind of stuff with them because, as far as us, dude, line workers, and of course you, Milton, all the hurricanes y'all get in Florida anyway. You're very familiar with them, and you know what it takes to get the lines back up, power back on, everybody, all that kind of stuff. But to come into this industry, want to do that, want to understand that, but dude, it's a great career, great money, great friends, but you know the other side of that coin, dude, is it's dangerous, period, point blank. And one little mistake, and luckily, me and you are both still here
yes.
and can do this and say this, because a lot of times when you have these kind of accidents, you don't make it through it. So
Yeah.
we're fortunate on that side of it, and that's I know my wife told me that one of the biggest blessings that she had while I was at the burn center at Vanderbilt up there was there was they called them care partners, and it was a burn survivor that, of course, they had been burned years and years ago when they were a kid, no electrical, nothing like that, just a burn survivor. And come in there and talk to my wife. Of course, I'm out of my mind at this point, and talk to her and just sort of give my wife that little nudge, like there is a life after this, that things are going to get better, things are going to be okay, you can still live with this, it's not, it's not the end of the world. And she said that right there, give her the push and give her that faith that, what, we are going to be okay, we are going to make it through this. And so that's why me and her started the nonprofit we started to help out folks. And when they get to that point, when they are in there in that hospital or in that waiting room, it's granted, you don't want to call us. We don't want you to call us because we don't want an accident to happen. But if it does, we're there for you, kind of thing. Because it was that little, just that personal piece of it that said,
Yeah.
"Hey, this is going to be okay."
I So I had a similar experience and I agree that if you go through something like this, I think the worst thing to hear is a doctor or a nurse or a friend, anybody, be like, "Oh, I understand what you're going through. I get it. I know the pain. I understand." You don't. You don't know the pain. You don't understand. And then you get frustrated and mad. So when somebody comes into the room, which I had a guy, amazing man, his name was Dwayne. We still keep in contact with him. He came in my room. It was like 15 years ago. He was a landscaper and he was using a pole saw, cutting, trimming trees, and touched a high line. Come down the pole saw, it got his arm and it took his eye out. So he has what they did to my head, a flap
Mm-hmm.
across his eye. And so he has no eye there. And he came into
Wow.
my room and I mean his whole stomach was affected, the burns, everything like that. And he came in and he sat down and introduced himself. And, at that point, You're so doped up. You're so angry with everything happening. Turn around and you looked at him. You're like, oh, you've
Yeah.
been hurt. And then he's like, hey, you're not alone in this. It does get better. You just have to keep going. You got to keep going. So for somebody to come in that has been through this already, it really does help you sit back and go, all right, all right, there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
That's 1,000% it. And um, so out of the folks we've helped and stuff like that, of course, I've met folks like great folks like you, and a great guy, man, a guy up in Illinois. His name's Jerry Kinney. I'd love to get you in contact with him. He was a lineman. He lost both his arms from the elbow down and all that good stuff, and he's got a great story. And just, I would assume, just of course, you know what assuming does, but I would assume you and me are probably a lot on the same playing field here. As you're in the we've experienced what we've experienced, and we're in the shape we're in, whole 9 yards. I mean, dude, we take it for what it is. We probably have a little bit different kind of sense of humor. You know what I'm saying? Like we joke about stuff that the
Yeah.
normal folks probably go, oh,
Yes.
So I've always, since the nonprofit started, that's going to be one of my big pushes for next summer. Is we're going to have something to get together with all the folks that we've helped and been burnt and all this, and so I'm like, hey, let's get together, let's do a barbecue. We're going to call it burn ins. You know what I'm saying? Like just make
Oh,
it
that's good.
as funny as we can. You know what I'm saying? But that's just who we are, man. Because we know we've been through that stuff, and like you said, you volunteering, you and your family volunteering and going down there, it's amazing. And the lives that y'all are touching doing that kind of stuff, because dude, this whole world, that's all we can do. You know what I mean? Is help each other out, man, at the end of the day. Because it's honestly got that human connection, and that's really what it's
Yeah.
about.
That, and I think, like you just said, we have and joke about our sense of humor is a lot different from most people, and especially working in blue
Oh
collar men and women. There's nothing that you're gonna say to them that's gonna hurt their feelings. They're not gonna turn around and go, "Oh, how dare you!" So with that already being, part of us, and then this happening, I've always had a good sense of humor, and I've always liked to make people laugh, and I like to have a good time. So once this happened, and I started getting back, and my wife really pushed me to get out of depression, and it was hard, but she was like, "Hey, you should maybe try social media." And being blue collar, I was like, I'm not
yeah.
doing that. That's goofy. I'm not doing that." She's like, "Just try it, try it." So I did, and talking to the camera the first time, you're sitting there looking at your phone. I'm like, "What am I doing? This is ridiculous." But then I started doing it, and me being who I am, just joking, my ears gone and making fun of myself. People started getting into my messages and messaging me like, "Oh my god, thank you for that." And sometimes you have to have a sense of humor. You have to make fun of yourself. If you have scars on your face, you have to have some sort of sense of humor, because laughter really does help.
Oh yeah.
It really does. You can't be depressed the whole time, because it'll just swallow you alive.
I do. I'm glad you said that, because so you know, I still work full time doing the safety stuff and all that jazz, but I got the nonprofit thing I do on the side. It's me and the wife and stuff, and I got a couple other great board members, and I do safety speaking and stuff. Me and you talked about it a little bit,
Yeah.
and so I do safety speaking, different electric departments. Like, man, it is nuts. I had a fella call me from South Dakota. Like, dude, I'm in little small town Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
We got like 2,500, people in the city, and how they hear about me, I have no idea. But South Dakota, and they'll call me up, and I'll go up there and I'll do a presentation about my accident, and show them, of course, and I ain't gonna lie about it. I show them the gory pictures and all that, but
You
I
need to
tie
see it.
in, yes, and I
It
tie into the different stuff with it, right? But here lately, I've I've taken that presentation and started. I guess maturity. You know what I mean? I won't say I'm mature or not, but we're dude. You take a 50-year-old blue collar worker, and I don't know how mature he is, but yeah, but it's just how we are. But I've been, I guess, wisdom, right? And it was one of the things that I've now went more towards. Like the last one I did was on like surviving the silence. I don't know what that was. My apologies. I heard a loud noise on my end. Um,
You're okay.
it's called Surviving the Silence, and it's exactly about what you were talking about that depression, the PTSD stuff, and all that. And I get frank with them, man. I get straight up. Like, what you see is what you get here. It's, of course, as well as I do, whether it be electrician, lineman, miner, plumber, blue collar crowd, we're not really known about sharing our feelings.
Exactly.
We're not very touchy feely kind of thing. And it's bad in a sense because we tend to put the weight of the world on ourselves. We carry the family, we do all that, maybe financially and stuff, and we like to bottle things up. And I can tell you, living through an accident like that, the burns, the medication, the all that, and you finally get to the point where you start weaning off all the meds, and of course, the nationwide problem with the opioids and everything else.
Oh yeah.
I got to where I went back to work way too fast. I did. I lied to the doctors. I was like, I'm perfectly fine, doc. Man, I'm ready to go hop in the bucket, put gloves on. And I went, honest to goodness, I was like straight up. I would go through a fifth of tequila like every 2 days. Like it was bad. It was bad. And looking back on it, I'm like, I made it through the injury. I made it through the surgeries and all that stuff. And my wife stood by my side this whole time. And now I am after all this. And here I am putting all this in jeopardy. And it, it's something we don't talk about. And it needs to be talked about. But like I said, we're not known for sharing our thoughts and feelings about stuff. So I've been sort of talking about that and doing different things. And it's something that
So
hopefully, get the word out and try to help a little bit. And that
I love
way,
that. I love that we got on this subject because I've actually talked about this, I believe, with two other guests that we've got onto this subject because it's starting to. We do have to bring awareness to it because in the blue collar world, like you said, men or women in the blue collar, we like to keep our feelings down. Majority is the men. We don't talk about our feelings because a lot of us that are in the blue collar, we've had blue collar fathers. And as we're being raised, you are raised, men don't cry. Push that shit down, you keep going. That's what it was. And,
yep,
that's how I grew up. Is,
yep,
I don't care that you cut your finger off. Get in there and finish a job. And you're like, all right, I'm going in back in.
yep,
That's what it was. You just put everything back down. So you got so used to that routine. And then with these jobs, it's like, all right, you want to be a blue collar worker? I do. Do you want to drink a bunch of alcohol, smoke cigarettes, chew? Uh, what are you going to do? And you're like, well, I don't want to do any of that. Well, it comes with the job.
yeah,
That's how it comes now. It is because you don't know how to. You don't know what you're out. What word am I looking for here? You don't have an
like
outlet.
yeah, coping mechanism kind of stuff.
So the first thing you do is all them guys. Let's go get a beer. Well, your beer that turns into 15 beers, and then let's do shots, and then the next morning you still have to get up and go to work.
Yeah,
And you just talked about how you were drinking tequila. So I'm 10 years sober. I was blue collar, raging alcoholic, and it got to the point where I had to quit. It was like, this is ruining my life. And I quit, and it was the best thing for me. I felt way better, but when this happened to me, it was so hard not to go back to drinking. It took everything I had not to go back to the bottle. And I have a very addictive personality, so when they were like, "Oh, here's the pain meds," I was like,
Mm,
I'll take them as needed. I don't want any more. And today's day, pain management wasn't very helpful. I
no.
went to pain management. I was like, I want to get off, the oxys and stuff. All right, yeah. We'll give you a real low dose. All right, cool. Here's another script for 150 of them.
Yeah,
I'm like,
here's another 90, here's 120.
do you
Yeah.
not hear what I said to you? And that's the problem, is that we don't have an outlet to talk about our feelings, to talk about the mental health side of what we go through. Instead, we just drink and drugs and whatever you can do. But no, I think that we definitely should be able to start really getting help. These guys that are in these jobs that don't know who to talk to. It took me, and I can tell my wife argued with me and argued to see a therapist. And I finally was like, you know what? Whatever. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I
You're
did
like,
it and I was like, that was really good. I got a lot out. And I still see him. And if you need somebody to talk to, I suggest anybody watching this and you think you're on that road that you might want to talk to somebody, go find a good therapist. Find somebody you get good vibes from and let it out. It needs
that's
to be done.
you're right on the money, man. Like you said, it's like a it's a prerequisite for the job, right? Like on the resume, it's like,
Yeah.
I get up at 4 a.m., work till 4 p.m., and but still have a 12 pack, get up, keep going the next morning, and
Yep.
and it's just part of the what we do kind of thing. And don't get me wrong, it's nice to have that moniker and to be like, oh yeah, that's who we are. We're Billy Bad Butts. At the end of the day, man, like it's not that real bright and or responsible to do that.
No.
But you know, when you're young, you can't really
Right.
explain that to people. But I personally, like I said, talking to somebody, getting that out, getting a different way of thinking and processing things. Not to mention, dude, I say this, I throw this out there all the time. I'm like, especially with my the nonprofit thing, I named it Line Brothers Keeper, right? Because it's in our industry, you got a guy in the bucket and you're watching or something like that, and you could say one thing that might keep him from making a mistake and ending a life or something. And I say never pass up that opportunity to say, hey man, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? Because that might be that domino that falls, that maybe the guy, maybe he's had family issues, somebody's got cancer, or somebody's leaving somebody, or kids found out they're sick, and it's all bottled up and they're thinking about that. Of course, if they're thinking about that, they're not concentrating on the job,
Exactly.
and that's when accidents happen and stuff. So I say never pass up that opportunity to be like, hey, you're all right, everything good, hey, you mind if I hop in the bucket today instead of you, kind of thing. Because it just I say, you know how to eat an elephant, right? It's one bite at a time,
Yeah.
and you just slowly chew away at it, and you might eventually say, "Yeah." All right? He's like, you know what, man? I do. That's what you're waiting on. That's what you're waiting on. So, I think you're right on the money, dude. And you doing this show, the podcast, the TikToks, all the social stuff. You are helping get that out there into the world, and just plain Jane showing that it looks aside, whole 9 yards. If you got a good message, you got a good heart, things are gonna fall in line for you, and that's what happens, right? And so if you
Yeah.
put that out there, good stuff come back, hopefully.
Yeah, because like we were talking, the whole drinking thing, and it comes a routine. I feel like when it comes to the safety side, we all go to work. We are all stuck in the same rut. We're in the same routine every day. You pretty much know what you're gonna do the next day. Yeah, you have stuff that breaks that you weren't planning on, but you've done the job long enough. Everything you've already done it once. It's all the same stuff. It's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go do this, do that, and you get so comfortable that you forget that shit breaks, freak accidents happen, stuff out of your control. So you got to always be on your toes. But that's the problem, is that we get in that routine that we're like, You're gonna get hurt today? No, that can't happen to me. That's bullshit. That can definitely happen to you
Dude,
without you
you
even knowing.
1000%
I had no clue.
guaranteed. Like when my wife asks the wives or the moms or the brothers or somebody like the people we visit when they get hurt, every one of them inevitably says, I never thought it happened to him.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because we never think about that, man. It's just nobody plans on having an accident. And I saw some studies. It was from a insurance company that does like the electric co-ops around the US. And they got like 50 years of data. And I think it was like fellas that the majority of fellas that get hurt in the electrical line world industry is guys with 10 to 15 years of experience, 35, 38-year-old, like you said, not not lazy, but lackadaisical. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've
Comfortable
been
with
doing it
it.
long enough. It's just another day at work.
It's
Or you got all them greenhorns that come in and they're like, I ain't fucking touching that.
yeah,
Well, the old timer behind you's like, I don't care. Grab a hold of that thing. And you go, well, that
yeah.
was the problem that you.
He's been there long enough. He
Yeah,
knows. Yeah,
yeah,
and dude, it's the same difference as like you driving to work, right? Yeah, I guarantee everybody's done it. You drive to work and you look up and you're like, I'm at work. Where'd 15 minutes go? You know what I mean? Like you don't even recall how many red lights you passed and stop signs and just that
it's so
automatic.
it's so funny you just brought that up. So that was a I had I had a guest on here who was a miner, and that was one of his things. We got in talking about safety, and we got talking about how it's the same routine like we just did. And the company he actually works for, he actually said he worked for two different companies that they provided shuttle buses from the job site to a designated parking area in the town or wherever. So these guys, when you get off work, he said that the deaths were happening not at the job, but it was either on the way to job or leaving the job site because they're so tired. And just like you said, you get home and you don't even realize that you just got home. You're like, oh, you don't remember anything. And I thought that was awesome that a job would provide that service to the guys that once they go, from the job site all the way to wherever, they only had a short distance to go home. That was definitely cool.
That that's the thing about it. I've seen out of helping people out, stuff like that. Dude, this is something that I don't think a lot of I don't think the majority of companies talk about most of this at all. When you do onboarding, when you get a new job and stuff, you do your P test, and here's the insurance, here's this. What do you want to sign? Blah blah blah. Here's
Yeah.
your hard hat. Go. And a lot of people don't understand that you get hurt, dude. Well, I'll say this: state of Tennessee, you get hurt, and that workers' comp kicks in. It's only 2/3 of your base pay.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It ain't that overtime, standby, extra pay. It's just 40-hour straight check and 2/3 of it.
Yeah.
And dude, it does not go far at all. And I see these, I say kids because, yeah, I got kids that age, the 18, 20, 22-year-olds that buy a $70,000 truck, that buy the $40,000 side by side. Don't,
Yeah.
don't,
Much money away.
just save that money because, dude, anything could happen at any point in time. You want to have a nice big fat cushion to fall back on, especially with mine. When I got hurt and all that good stuff, the the ones doing the investigation proceeded to tell me, like 3 days into it, the wife gets a card from Lifeline, and she's thinking, "Oh, are you okay?" They're checking in on me. No, it was a bill for $40,000 for a 26-minute Lifeline ride, and we're like, "How does what?" You know, Come to find out, the like original investigation stuff, they were saying because I'm a journeyman, qualified electrical worker, I know the PPE requirements. I know that I should have my rubber on. I should have my FR rolled down. I should have all this stuff. And because I intentionally broke the rules, workers' comp and insurance company says, we ain't gonna pay for it. Like, it's on you, man. You intentionally did this. And I mean, leaving Vandy at the burn center up there, dude, easy. Like, I think when I left the hospital, it was like $865,000.
Yeah, hospital
And
rack up quick.
oh, dude. And now you're considering, I, if I do live through all this, I'm going to be missing something. I'm not going to be me 100% anymore. I still have to provide for my family and stuff. Hopefully, you've got a job afterwards. Don't
And
know.
and now you're in debt.
And now you're in debt like that. So I had a real good safety guy that helped push me to do the safety thing and helped push me to talk about this and all that, because he went back, dude. I'm not gonna lie. That man stood up in front of me and said, "Look, I'm about to go in there and lay it all on the table." He said, "If they fire me, they fire me, but just how much I believe in this." He went back. He actually got them to reverse their decision, and workers' comp picked it up. Like,
That's
if
awesome.
you get a good safety guy, not a safety cop, but a safety guy that is there for you, and it's his job is honest to goodness to get you to go home safe every day. That's the kind of guy you want to have. You don't want to have that safety guy that you know.
Everybody hates.
Oh yeah, the typical safety guy.
Yeah.
And that's one reason why I went into the safety world. I was like, dude, that guy right there, he set the bar for me, because if I can do that, if I can help people out and help them understand that, dude, it ain't like the lawyers you see on TV, get hurt, win $1 million.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist in our world. It doesn't, man. And especially if you don't have big companies, you got small contractors and different stuff. Trust me, the rules and laws and regulations that we know nothing about, they're made for those people.
Yep.
They're not really made for us. And so that's part of our help, right? That's part of our nonprofit Line Brothers Keeper thing is, of course, we offer financial assistance and stuff, but I do, uh, like, I'll make a little woodworking thing, a little set of hooks and all that different stuff. And, but we're there for that, not only how to take care of wound dressing, what to look forward to with how awesome physical therapy is.
It's really good.
Oh man, I'm
Yep.
telling you, those people are.
My
Somebody
physical
said it along. They're, instead of a physical therapist, they're a physical terrorist, is what they said.
my physical therapist, I'll tell you, he was super awesome. When I was laying in the ICU, before I could even get up, the doctor literally came and told me, with my wife standing there, he was like, "You're more likely not going to walk again." And I was like, "Why?" And he was like, "Because the amount of voltage you took to the top of your head more than likely messed up your spine." And I was like, "Oh." He's like, "Yeah, so you probably are not going to walk again." And I got so mad. I couldn't talk because I had the trach in my throat.
Mm.
So I had a little whiteboard that my wife got me, and I told them, "Bring the OT in and get me out of this bed." And they were like, "No, you're not going to be able to stand." And I was like, "Tell me again, I won't be able to. I dare you." So they would. He did. He come down. He was like, "You sure you want to do this?" I was like, "Damn right." He was like, "All right." So I started pulling this thing. He's like, "No, don't take everything off." No, we're getting up. I'm getting out of this bed. I did, and I got up and I stood up, and they both, "Oh my God." And I was like, "You ain't gonna tell me I ain't gonna do it." But my whole physical therapy, he was like, since I have the scar that runs down the shoulder, that was like so tight. He was like, "You gotta stretch your arms. You gotta stretch your arms. What's something that you want to do when you get out of the hospital?" I was like, "I want to ride my Harley." And he was like, "So yeah, there you go. Do that. Do that. Think about riding your bike." Which my Harley, I got 20-inch A
Yeah,
painters.
ape hangers.
So I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Well, once I got out of the hospital, I couldn't go ride my bike. And then it got to the point where I figured out that I have a hole in my head. So I was like, "Well, there goes my whole dream." And all my work to ride my bike is
Yeah,
gone because I'm not riding that. So yeah,
yeah. That's
it was
dude.
all a
That's
lie.
I love that, because you said, "Don't tell me
Yeah,
that
no.
I ain't." Oh, dude, and the blue collar world, right?
Yeah,
They just don't tell me I can't do so. Oh no,
Yeah.
that is the most beautiful thing in the world. Because I remember I actually left the hospital with all five of my fingers on my hand because they had told me there was one point in time where they said if you can wiggle them, you can keep them, and I was like, ho ho ho, okay. And I mean, it took everything in my body to wiggle my fingers, and they told me they're like that doctor, she said, you'll never, your facial hair, you won't ever have fingernails, none of that good stuff. I don't know why this is all decided to work. I can't tell you, but I worked, after I got hurt, I worked for another 4 years back at the uh, uh, municipal where I was working at, rubber gloves, everything like that. But any self-respecting lineman out there, they can cut wire with a set of clines, all that good stuff. And it
Yeah.
got to where I couldn't do that. It just, injections and all kinds of different stuff. And they finally said they cut this off back in 2022. So it was from 17 to 22. I had it, and they said that's the best you could do with it. Like it's just because that's as well as I do with electrical burns, just electricity in general. Medical science is awesome. They can do all kinds of cool stuff. I remember a video of a guy playing banjo while they're operating on his brain. Like he's awake talking to the docs and stuff. But with burns, it's we'll give it a couple days. We'll
Yeah.
cut out the bad stuff until it bleeds good, and then we'll leave it. And that's really how it goes. And
Yeah.
they don't know what it's going to do to you.
Exactly. So same thing with my head. So this was all exposed. All this and this whole side was all skull when I was in the hospital. And I'd walk around the hospital like that. And I would forget that I have my skull wide open. And I'd be walking out in the hallway and people be like, what
Yeah,
was that?
I don't think he should be out here.
Yeah, he should probably be back in his room. But uh all of this, they did burr holes to see if it would grow new tissue. And it started to, but it was really, really taking way too long. So they took my whole lat muscle out of my back, put it on my head, and when I got out of that surgery, my head was like this big, and they were like, "It's gonna go right down." I was like, "Okay." So within
Uh,
6 months, it did. It went down. And I was like, "Oh wow." Well, then out of nowhere, this hole developed that wasn't there in the hospital, and I get so many questions from people like, "Why didn't the doctors put a plate in there?" Because when I left the hospital, it was healthy,
mhm.
and a year later, from the electricity, it burned it, and it finally died off
Just
and
died.
absorbed itself, and now it's a hole in my head. So it's
That's
crazy. You don't know how long it's gonna take for it to affect your body.
That's they had one of the physical therapists I had. He was 5 foot tall, like 85 pounds. This little short, scrawny guy. But of course, I was joking about the physical terrorist thing. They are awesome people, and I remember him. He's like, "Look, man, this is gonna hurt, but like you said, how tight it gets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that scar tissue." And he's like, "This is gonna hurt, but if you don't move it, you're going to lose it." He
Yep.
said, I don't want you to be, handicapped like that. And dude, he'd crawl up on the bed behind me and take my arm and twist it and pull and all that. And I'm like, and he's like, I said, man, hurt me, boo boo. I said, just the more you can pull on me, the better off I'll be. And he done a good job because, like you said, when you get out of the hospital, you want to do something like you always did. Well, me being the Marine, my boys, of course, I could outdo them in push-ups. I've always, that's just something. I'm the dad, right? And so I couldn't do a push-up because it physically my hand wouldn't go
Yeah.
flat like that. So just working on it, and all that good stuff to where I got to where I could do it. And it's those unexpected things that one thing that the blue collar fellas need to know. I'm telling you right now, I don't care how big, bad, 6'5", 275 muscle, tats, beard, beer swizzling, whatever. I don't care how big and bad you are. I don't at all. I'm telling you, you get burned up, your pride is going to take a back seat quick. Because I'm telling you, my little wife, 5 foot, 95-pound wife, I've never in a million years ever thought I'd have to ask that woman to wipe my butt. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's stuff that you never ever thought you'd do
Yes.
that, because not all the nurses are the 5-foot blondes,
I'll tell you right
and
now. Uh,
it just, what do you do, man?
that's so true. It's not even funny. It is funny, but God, it's so true because in the hospital, I'll never forget this. There was two different times. You say you got to take your pride and put it back there, and it is true because so in the hospital, one of the times I got out of my head surgery, and you're in the hospital, so you're not in your clothes or anything. I was butt naked under the blankets, and I couldn't move because they took my lat muscle, so I couldn't even push myself up onto the bed,
Hmm.
like just to position yourself to get comfortable. Both my arms, I was on this one, my right side, I was on surgery for 12 hours, laying on that side. So when I got out, it was all locked up. And on this side, they took the muscle, so I couldn't do nothing with it. And I begged the guy, the nurse, who was a male nurse, and I was like, "Hey, man, is there any way that you can help me stand up? I need to stand up off this bed." And he was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So hey, went and got another male nurse. So I have two guys holding each arm, picking me out of bed, and I'm standing there, and I'm just like, I'm butt naked in between two men.
Yeah.
And I just put my head down, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. And he goes, "You good?" And I was like, "Am I good?" I said, "I'm butt naked in between two guys right now." And he started laughing. He goes, he leaned in. He goes, "Hey, but it's not prison."
There you
And
go.
I just started laughing. I was like, "Man, you got a good point there." And the same thing with the wiping your ass. My wife had to do that.
I'm
Yep.
telling you, that that fella come in, my nurse, I remember his name was Darius. He was about 6'2", about 320. He was a big boy. And I remember my wife, wine or cat hair, dude, I got a great woman. I don't know what I did to deserve it, but she stayed by my side 24/7, like whole 9 yards, And the one time that she decided to hop on, which she don't like elevators, she hopped on the elevator, got stuck. And so she was stuck for like 2 hours. And I had to
Mhm.
go really bad. And I remember him coming in there and looking at me. And like you said, you just let, dude, you can't do nothing. And he's like, you need help with that? I was like, no, sir, I don't want you to do that. And it's just guaranteed that
Oh
if
god.
the fellas that are listening to us, your audience, our blue collar group and all that good stuff, there's things that I promise you will ask and have people do for you that you never in a million years would ever want
Yeah,
anything done, but it what is it? That ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure kind of thing, right? And so you talking about this stuff, you putting it out there, you having the arcing head, the blue collar, dude, it's not about making millions of dollars. It's not about putting yourself and being famous, dude. It's honest to goodness about awareness. That's what I see it, man.
100%.
It's you talk about it, you show it, you
Yep.
you say, here's how it happened. Don't let it happen, man. Don't let this continue on, and I've not been exposed to the mining community too much, like the plumbers or the iron workers, or you know. But I know in the line world, our industry is a lot. We tend to be a lot more reactive than we are proactive, and it's always, well, somebody got hurt, we need to change a rule, or we need to have a rule, or we need to do this kind of thing. I say let's not get somebody hurt. Let's back up and look at it and make sure we're doing it the right way. And a lot of that's got to come from the ground up. The people
Yeah.
doing the work, they got to step forward, be like, hey man, FYI, we ought to do this way or this way. And I'm talking just safety councils, committees, different stuff like that, safety stand downs. My biggest thing, I challenge everybody I talk to, play out a scenario. Like honest to goodness, whole company involved, even get the EMS, 911, life flight, cops, get everybody involved and play it for real. I'm talking opening. opening the first aid kits up, playing out for real, because that's when you find loopholes. Because I'm teaching OSHA last Wednesday when me and you was going to talk last Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Teaching OSHA. It's a 10-hour OSHA. Don't get me wrong, OSHA is an outstanding organization, right? Keeps us safe.
Yep.
I corner my eye. I'm just talking about fall protection. That's it. Just a harness. And I showed a video of a guy climbing and his knee kicked out to the side. No blood, no gore. And it just was, that's it. Ooh, that hurt, Out of the corner of my eye, a student just passes out, flat out, in the middle of class. Like, for a half a second, I look around and everybody's looking at me and I go, oh, I'm in charge. I'm the one that has to do something. Hang on, right? And so I go into that mode, right? And I recovery position, lift feet and check for all that good stuff. And then everybody's standing around. I'm like, you go get help. You go get me a first aid kit. It's amazing to me that, here we are teaching a safety
Yeah.
class and people are like, what do we do? So I'm like, I want training to be as real as it can be.
No, that's
That
a
went a little bit
great.
too far, but I want it to be as real as it can be, because if not, you're going to do exactly what I did. Be like, oh yeah, I'm the one supposed to do something here. You know what I'm saying? So the
No,
kind
that's
of
definitely a
incidents you
great
have and I
thing.
have.
I think that a majority of the companies should do that. You need you need the plan of where the ambulance is going to come in or where the helicopter is going to land. And you need your whole thing. You're right, because everybody goes into panic. You're going to see where your loopholes are right there and what's falling through the cracks.
Oh yeah,
That's a
that's
good thing.
exactly it. But no, that's why I love what you do. And I've our good friend Mr. Zach on TikTok stuff. He's a lineman up here in Tennessee. Great guy.
Awesome
Uh,
guy.
Appreciate him hooking me up with you. Appreciate you, inviting me on and all that good stuff, and let me talk a little bit about my incident and a little bit about my nonprofit and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that you do this. And like you said, I know several people have been hurt and burnt, and they will not talk about it. They won't, try to hide it, try to do whatever they can. And just for us that don't have a problem talking about it, I think it's our duty or our burden to sort of say, hey, let's step up and let's bring awareness to it. And I love what you do. And
I agree.
I've not got into the TikTok world yet. I'm working on it, but that's, of course, the Instagram and the Facebook and all that
Oh
kind of
yeah.
stuff, but in the website and all that jazz. But I'm working on the TikTok social media thing, but I'm like you, man. I just don't know about having a camera pointed at me and talking to it all the time. But
It takes a little bit to get used to, but once you get the first couple done, and you're like, oh, this is easy.
that's what I hope to do. And like I said, I typically raise money. Uh, like we go to rodeos and conferences and stuff like that, and I do a lot of woodworking stuff for guys retiring and company, employee appreciation and making stuff like that. And that's how I raise money, because I don't like asking for money. So, we're not known to ask for anything. We typically do everything for everybody. That's our nature. But I just do stuff like that, and helps raise awareness. And if anybody ever gets hurt, a lot of times it's that good old boy network. That's the beautiful part about the blue collar world, man. We are 1,000% of brotherhood on this, to where it doesn't matter if you Texas, California, Michigan.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, within about 6 to 8 guys, I could holler at somebody and know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows you, that kind of thing. So, and I imagine the mine world and everything else is like that too.
Yeah.
So that's
Yep.
the beautiful part about it.
No, it's amazing that you just said that it doesn't matter where you're located, the blue collar, when you work in the trades, we are family. It don't matter. And it's funny because I've said this, that we do have to come together and work together a lot better, being in the different trades, because the electricians don't like the plumbers don't like the framers don't like the concrete.
Yeah.
But we have to get the job done, and we all want to go home safe. But it really is a brotherhood, because starting doing social media, when I started, I was getting support and people following me and commenting on, blue collar. That's right, man. Australia, Africa, all these different, not even in the US anymore. And I was like, this is amazing. And it is. And that's why we do this.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I've always wanted to, like, I follow some different, like, New Zealand linemen and stuff like that, and it'd be cool to go over there, just experience how they do things and all that jazz. And it's I equate it to the military. You got your Army, Navy, Air Force, and we all bicker and fight, with each
Exactly.
other, who's better and all that good
Yeah.
stuff. But at the end of the day,
Yep.
we all pull in the same direction. We're all at that end goal, getting the job done. But like you said, the emphasis, the blue collar community itself needs to have that emphasis dialed in a little more towards not the nostalgic old, a case of beer, get back up, go to work, get it done no matter what.
Yeah.
Let's dial that back and let's get into the 21st century here and be like, hey, let's do the job. Let's do it safely. How about
Exactly.
that, man? Why not? So go
Exactly.
home at the end of the day.
Yes. Yep. Well, Zach, it was amazing having you on as a guest. I am so thankful that you agreed to come on. We are definitely going to keep in touch. We're definitely going to be talking a lot more. And anybody watching, make sure you like and you subscribe to the channel. And definitely check out Zach's stuff, his social media. Do you want to give out your social media, and do you want to give out your website?
Oh, yeah. It's linebrotherskeeper.org is the nonprofit website. Line Brothers Keeper on Facebook, and same thing on IG. I got my safety presentation thing is spicerstory.com if anybody needs safety speaker stuff. But Mr. John, I'm telling you, man, this has been outstanding. I love this.
It was awesome.
This is cool, dude. And like you said, man, it's what you do with the Arc and Head, the Blue Collar Nation, and the workers and whole 9 yards, man. You've got an amazing thing going here, and I'm looking for an opportunity to get to Florida to
Come
run
on
in with
down.
you. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you letting me have this opportunity, this platform, and you're a gentleman and a scholar here, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Once again, guys, like, subscribe. Make sure you check out all Zach's stuff. Zach, once again, man, I appreciate you coming on. It was awesome having you. And you take it easy, man. You stay safe.
Sounds good, Mr. John. Appreciate you.
Thank you.